Not many people know this, but in the late 80s, Indonesia had a state lottery, one that made ordinary people line up in the streets to buy tickets. It was called SDSB, and at its peak, people spent billions of Indonesian rupiah to try their luck. The government swore the money was going to schools and welfare, and the winners made millions. But then, in just a few years, the lottery was erased almost overnight. So, what happened? Why did Indonesia ban something so profitable and so popular? Indonesia. See, in 1985, the government launched the SDSB lottery, which looked like a runaway success at first. Tickets were sold in every city, jackpots climbed into the billions of rupiah, and ordinary street vendors became ticket sellers overnight. The government was happy because the lottery was bringing in a fortune. But not everyone was happy about this. Religious leaders denounced it as un-Islamic. Not only that, but many corruption scandals leaked into the press, and rumors spread that the money was not really reaching welfare programs at all. By the early 1990s, religious bodies started protesting in Jakarta. Clerics demanded an end, crowds filled the streets, and the pressure became impossible to ignore. In 1993, the government folded, and the lottery was shut down almost overnight. And the truth is, once it was banned, the gambling just went underground, which was more dangerous and unregulated than ever. But Indonesia was not the only Muslim-majority country that decided the lottery was too dangerous to keep. You will find these bans all across the Middle East, where there is no room for exceptions. Islamic countries. In Afghanistan, for example, the idea of a lottery is unthinkable. The country has one of the strictest interpretations of Islamic law. Gambling is condemned outright. It is seen as sinful and destructive. There was never even an attempt to launch a national lottery there. Under the Taliban today, it is enforced with even greater severity. You can purchase no tickets, not even participate in online gambling. Just a flat-out refusal, and anyone caught trying to run a game of chance faces harsh punishment. And yet, some Afghans with internet access still sneak into foreign lottery sites, though they do it quietly, because if the government senses any suspicious activity, they could go to prison. In neighboring Iran, the story is not any different. The Islamic Republic's civil code actually voids all gambling contracts, calling them invalid and illegal. That includes lotteries. After the 1979 revolution, any Western-style gambling was purged. Casinos were closed, racetracks were shut down, and the lottery was wiped out. To this day, gambling in Iran is a serious offense, sometimes punished by public lashings or months in prison. But the interesting thing is that the government still needed a way to encourage savings, so banks began offering prize accounts, where depositors are randomly chosen to win rewards. It looks and feels like a lottery, but officials insist it's different because it's tied to savings rather than pure betting. That's how Iran manages the contradiction. No gambling, but plenty of lottery-like incentives when it benefits the state. Then there is Pakistan. In the 1960s, you would have found many betting shops in Karachi and even a handful of casinos, but everything changed in 1977. A sweeping Gambling Prevention Act slammed the door on every form of gambling, including lotteries. The reasoning was that the government wanted to align the country's laws with Islamic principles. Since then, Pakistan has never reintroduced a lottery. What it does have, though, is something called prize bonds. These are government bonds that double as lottery tickets, with random draws awarding cash prizes to holders. It is technically a financial product, but to most people, it feels exactly like a lottery. The government gets cash from selling the bonds, and citizens cling to the hope of winning big. It is a neat workaround, but make no mistake, the law still treats all other gambling as a crime. Move further into the Gulf and you will find Bahrain, where gambling is banned in all forms and violators face jail time. First-time offenders can get 3 months in prison. Repeat offenders get a year. Operators face even heavier penalties. There are no exceptions, not even for tourists. That makes Bahrain different from places like Egypt or Lebanon, where casinos are tolerated for foreigners. In Bahrain, it's zero tolerance. The law even extends to the internet. Here, regulators block access to international lottery sites. For ordinary Bahrainis, the only chance to win something in a draw is through company raffles or shopping promotions. Anything else could land you in court. Saudi Arabia takes it even further. Gambling is not just illegal, it is considered a major sin. There are no national lotteries, no raffles, and no soft loopholes like prize bonds. The government doesn't need one. As the guardian of Islam's holiest sites, Saudi Arabia enforces bans strictly. Even tourists can't gamble there, unlike some of the more relaxed Gulf states. And while underground poker games exist among expats, they run the risk of being raided by religious police. The rules there are so strict that not even any discussion of reform has ever reached serious levels in Saudi politics. Qatar has a similar outlook. The country has banned all gambling under its penal code. If you are caught, you can face jail time and fines. Yet there is an interesting fact. Qatar Airways, which is the country's flagship airline, has run luxury raffles where travelers buy tickets for a chance to win a car or even a private jet. Officially, these are promotions, not gambling. It's a clever way to skirt the ban while keeping the letter of the law intact. Still, for everyday citizens, a national lottery has never existed and almost certainly won't in the future. And then there is Brunei, where the ban is ironclad. This tiny oil-rich nation has one of the most conservative interpretations of Islamic law. The Common Gaming Houses Act makes any gambling a crime, and the Sharia penal code strengthens it even more. This country doesn't even allow tourists to gamble. Neighboring Malaysia and Singapore both rely on gambling revenue from visitors, but Brunei refuses outright. The Sultan has made it clear that the country will not profit from something considered sinful, no matter how much money it could bring in. Then there is Oman, where lotteries are banned, but prize raffles tied to purchases are everywhere. Banks hand out million-dollar prizes to account holders. Supermarkets hold car giveaways, and companies sponsor huge draws. To the government, these are not gambling because you are not paying directly for a chance. You are buying a product or holding savings. Even in countries outside the Middle East, bans tied to religion and politics are common. The Maldives, for example, has no lottery at all. Cuba. In Cuba, the lottery was once a national pastime. It was played alongside the casinos and flashy nightlife of Havana. But then in 1959, Fidel Castro's revolution overthrew dictator Fulgencio Batista, and the new government banned it all. Castro said lotteries and casinos only helped US mobsters and drained ordinary people. To him, gambling was a symbol of corruption and greed, which was everything the revolution wanted to erase. Overnight, the lottery disappeared, the casinos were shut down, and all forms of betting were outlawed. So, for more than 60 years, Cubans haven't had a legal chance to buy a lottery ticket. North Korea. And then there is North Korea, which for decades banned gambling entirely as a decadent capitalist practice. But in 2023, the regime quietly introduced a state-run mobile lottery. This lets citizens place bets through a government app. So even in the most closed society on Earth, the lure of the lottery money was too tempting for the state to ignore it. Next, we have a country with one of the strangest lottery histories out there: Japan. It's Japan. Back in the Edo period, even Buddhist temples were running lotteries to raise funds. People lined up not just for cash prizes, but with the feeling that luck had a spiritual edge. Then came the Meiji Restoration in the 1800s, and the government decided enough was enough. By 1869, lotteries were outlawed. For decades, they vanished until Japan was in ruins after World War II. That's when the government brought them back, but only under strict state control. The first post-war Takarakuji lottery was launched in 1948. The government promised that its profits would funnel into rebuilding schools and roads. Today, they are everywhere, with jackpots in the billions of yen. But don't think you can buy a Powerball ticket in Tokyo. Foreign lotteries are completely illegal. In fact, Article 187 of the Criminal Code makes it a crime. It is nicknamed the Lucky Ticket Acceptance Law. Japan wants every yen of gambling revenue under its watch. And people still love it, even though the odds are brutal. But if you think Japan is strict, wait until you hear about China. China. Gambling in China has been banned since 1949, when the communists came to power. Overnight, casinos and lotteries disappeared. For decades, it stayed like that. Then, in the 1980s, the government realized it could make a fortune if it ran the lotteries itself. That's how the welfare lottery and the sports lottery were born. Today, they're two of the biggest in the world, and they bring in billions every year. The twist here is that they are the only ones allowed. Private lotteries are banned. Foreign tickets are blocked online, and underground rings get raided constantly. Still, millions of Chinese sneak into illegal numbers games or head to Macau, where casinos are legal. It is the ultimate contradiction. The state bans gambling, yet aggressively pushes its own lotteries. It plasters ads on TV with celebrity endorsements. Why? Just because the revenue is too good to give up. Now, let's jump to Cambodia, where the lottery story is just as messy. Cambodia. On paper, Cambodia has a legal lottery, but only because the government controls it. Ordinary Cambodians can play the state's 590 draw, but private operators are banned. That hasn't stopped people from chasing Vietnamese or Thai lotteries, which get smuggled in by vendors across the border. Even when police crack down, the demand does not disappear. By 2019, the government started blocking foreign lottery websites to keep locals away. And the same year, it banned online gambling entirely. Casinos across Cambodia are still running, but they are off-limit to locals. These are meant only for Chinese tourists. So for citizens, the national lottery is pretty much the only legal bet in town. And yet, the black market thrives anyway. People choose their numbers based on dreams, omens, even temple rituals. And if they cannot get tickets legally, they find someone selling them illegally. It's proof that banning lotteries just pushes them underground. It never erases them. Norway. And then there is Norway, which takes control to a whole new level. This is where the state wants to have a monopoly. Back in 1902, Norway already had laws saying games of chance were illegal unless licensed. By the 1990s, the Lottery Act sealed the deal that Norsk Tipping would be the only legal lottery operator. Every ticket sold is tied back to the government, with profits going into sports and culture programs. It may sound nice to you, but the problem is, no other lottery is allowed, not even foreign ones. Norway blocks online lottery sites, tells banks not to process payments, and in 2024 even introduced DNS blocking to shut down unlicensed sites entirely. This means if you're buying a ticket in Norway, it better be from Norsk Tipping. Some Norwegians think it is too controlling, but most are fine with it since the money funds public projects. And while they do get to play huge international draws like Viking Lotto or Euro Jackpot, it is still funneled through the state monopoly. On the other side of the Atlantic, the story couldn't be more different. USA. In the United States, the lottery is a national obsession. And sometimes the jackpots are so big they break world records. In 2022, a California man named Edwin Castro won a Powerball prize worth $2.04 billion, which was the largest in history. Overnight, he became world famous and a billionaire. It's proof that in America, one ticket really can change everything. Lotteries in the US are run by individual states, and nearly all of them have jumped on board. Powerball and Mega Millions are the most famous. Their tickets are sold across state lines, with drawings watched by millions. Billions of dollars are funneled into education, infrastructure, and state budgets. This makes the lottery one of America's favorite ways to raise money. But the strange thing is that not every state plays along. There are two US states where lottery is banned. It's Utah and Hawaii. Utah's refusal goes all the way back to its identity. With a majority Mormon population, the state follows the church's strict stance against gambling. From the moment Utah joined the Union in 1896, it has kept its doors shut to lotteries, and every attempt to change that has failed. Hawaii's reasoning is different. Lawmakers there argue that gambling would fuel crime and hurt their island communities. So while Hawaiians fly in droves to Las Vegas, nicknamed the Ninth Island, they cannot buy a single lottery ticket at home. But maybe these countries and states that have banned the lottery are onto something. Because the lottery doesn't always make life better. For some winners, it becomes a curse. If you don't believe us, watch our next video to listen to the terrifying stories of jackpot winners who were chased by the mafia right after their big win.